Please pray with me. May these words that I speak be grounded in my soul, encouraged by the God presence in me. And may these words that you hear be captured by your soul, enlivened by the God presence in you. Amen. I wonder what this story of baptism is trying to tell us today. Traditionally, the focus of Jesus' baptism has been on Jesus as the one, the Messiah, the Savior. Traditionally, we have downplayed the significance of John the Baptist and have affirmed Jesus as the only one by giving authority through the voice of God, proclaiming Jesus as beloved Son. Traditionally, we have imagined this voice of God bellowing from the sky above for all the world to hear, creating God as some kind of hovering supreme being. Even though in the story, in all three synoptic gospels, no one actually hears the voice except Jesus. For is not the voice of God an internal rather than an external voice, both then and now? Is the voice of God not the stirrings of our own hearts and the wisdom of our own souls telling us we are well and that we are on the right path? In the 21st century, we now understand that every single life is born of spirit. That there is a life spirit, or God spirit, if you prefer, that is at work in every life form in the universe. A spirit that brought this cosmos into being and has committed 14 billion years to evolving ever more complex and diverse forms of life, even to the human species today. We humans continue to evolve even as we sit here into a more loving and a more compassionate way of being in the world, what I call humanity 2.0, just like a computer operating system, improving, mostly. And humanity 2.0 is not only a 21st century phenomenon. It seems to me that Jesus was ahead of his time. Like Buddha, like Muhammad, like St. Francis, like Teresa of Avila, like Hildegard of Bingen, like Meister Eckhart, like Thomas Aquinas, like Thomas Merton, like Gandhi, like Teilhard de Chardin, and Thomas Berry, to name just a very few. Jesus, like these others, and many, many more beyond this list, were living, breathing examples of humanity 2.0 in their time and place. I understand humanity 2.0 as a higher level of human being, evolved to a heightened sense of wisdom, a deeper realization of compassion, and not just a willingness, but a determination to live love as the path of God. Does that not reflect the life of Jesus? Does that not reflect the life of Gandhi, Muhammad, Thomas Merton, and so many others from history? I believe that despite our current day news focus on violence, terror, greed, and all things evil, that as a species, we are on the threshold of becoming humanity 2.0. Rather than being the way of only a handful of mystics, there is now going on a more general awakening to the wisdom of love rather than the folly of fear as a way to live. The baptizer, John, was another of these mystics that was ahead of his time. He attracted thousands, including Jesus, because he chose a new way of being in the world. Not a way that is particularly foreign to many of us, but a deeper and in some ways more ancient way. The waters of baptism become symbol for the waters of birth, the very waters of life, because we are all born of spirit. Jesus' own plunge into the waters of the Jordan became symbolic passage of his wholehearted commitment to a new way of living and being in the world, the way of love. And it is to this way of love that we are called in this story of Jesus' baptism. It's a call to each of us. Bruce Sanguin, in his new book, The Way of the Wind, describes this way of love, I think, beautifully in his preface to the book. And he says this: 40 years of searching for what is real and true draws me back to love and forward into a future that is being shaped by love. Religious traditions call this love God. I am less concerned with the name we give this presence than I am to witnessing to it, consenting to it, and ultimately becoming it by some grace that is activated only by complete and repeated surrender. What I have called over and over again, trust. He says, I experience this love as transcendent yet immanent in this great unfolding we have come to call evolution. The presence is not a person, but is very personal. We emerge from and are being lived by an immense, loving intelligence, which manifests in diverse beings, human and non-human. This manifestation of this presence is our universe. It is you in human form after billions of years of evolution. And he says, resisting this love leads to the violence and suffering we now see people enacting toward each other and toward our Mother Earth. Surrendering to this love issues in immense compassion for personal and global suffering, in a deep desire to become one with it, and to act on its behalf for a world that is a more perfect reflection of it, of love. To know this love is to know that there is really nothing else to do with one's life. All else is distraction. Create for love, work for love, raise a family for love, die to oneself for love. This I know is not new. Jesus of Nazareth and mystics of every lineage were apprehended by the truth of it. All seekers will come to this awareness in their own time. When we are ready to die to self, love resurrects us. It seems to me that Jesus, like so many other mystics, calls us beyond our belief in God, whatever that might be, to the experience of feeling and embracing the God presence within us. The I can feel you near me, God, so I'm going to jump for joy. That presence within us, among us, and in all of this glorious universe. Believe what you need to believe. Pray what you need to pray. But first, choose choose to know this love. To know that there is nothing else really to do with one's life. Find this love, born of the Spirit in you. And you too will hear the voice of the God presence deep within saying, "You are my beloved. With you I am well pleased." Welcome. Welcome to Humanity 2.0.